All around me are familiar faces, worn out.
Hello there and welcome to Strength for Tomorrow Radio. I am Stuart Thompson. Thank you so much for joining me again this week. We're into July, would you believe? I'm all pretty high in coffee right now, so I thought, why not? Let's put a show together. Let's get one done for the week. Last week was episode 53 and we talked about 8 ways that you waste your time in the gym. Well, do you? Are you prone to all 8 of them? Or are there just a couple of them that you need to work on? Let me know what you think of that show. Let me know what your thoughts are. I've had a little bit of feedback. Some people are like, yep, guilty as charged. And other people are like, nope, that doesn't apply to me, which is cool. But we're into episode 54. And today we're thinking about how similar we are, but also how unique we are. Now, this isn't a bit of a kind of a love fest, kind of unified show. We're all part of the human race. We are all part of the human race, but we're trying to think of it in terms of how you react to exercise. So we've got it's not a jam-packed show, but I'm going to give you a few thoughts on that, and then we're going to round up a few news stories and joke of the week as always, so stick around. So the main thought that I wanted to share this week on the podcast is not very long, and it'll not take you very long to listen to this week's episode, but it's significant and it's important to point it out because a lot of people go to the gym and their expectations just are not realistic. Their expectations, they don't really know what to expect, or maybe what they expect is based upon what they've seen on Instagram, what they've seen on the internet, what they've seen on some documentaries or Netflix or something. But whenever you go into the gym, right, say you start lifting weights, what is your expectation of yourself? What is your expectation of the next time you go into the gym? Should you go 2 days in a row? Should you leave it a week? Is a week too long? How many times a week should you train? There's so many questions. There's so many questions people have, and they're trying to just figure it out themselves. And the role of my role and our role here at Cross Functional Fitness is to take away those false expectations, to try and remove lots of them and help you understand what your body is capable of and how your body reacts to exercise. So the idea behind this week's show is that we're all the same, and in that sense we are, okay? We all react to exercise in a very, very predictable and similar way. If I'm trying to help you get stronger, if I'm trying to help you lift heavier weights and get stronger, then you're going to react to a session and to a stress that I help to apply to you through weights, that I can predict how you're going to be the next time. And it gets more predictable the longer that you do it. The first session is always a bit more of a guessing game because you're always trying to figure out what's challenging. Is the client challenged? Do they understand what a challenge is? Do they think they're challenged, or are they actually challenged? Because everybody who's never touched a weight before comes into the gym and they think, oh, that's really heavy. It's always really heavy, the first one, right? But I can tell by lots of different factors. I can tell that whether it is too heavy for you, the right weight, or whether we can add a bit more. I can tell by things like your control, by the speed of the bar, by just whether the bar starts slowing down across the set. So things like that are really obvious giveaways. They're ways that I can kind of tell, and then making sure that we rest the right amount. So we're all the same, okay? We all start somewhere. We all have to start training somewhere. We don't all start at the top of the mountain. We don't all start back squatting 100 kilos. We all have to start somewhere. Just doing a decent body weight squat for most of us is where we start. Especially if you haven't worked out for 10 or 20, 30 years, that's a good starting point, right? But whenever you put a weight on the bar, you are applying a stress to your muscles, to your ligaments, to your tendons, to your bones. You're applying a stress to your heart, to how your body regulates your blood pressure. You're applying a stress, and your body gets more efficient. It gets better at dealing with that with every session. So if you do that on a Monday, you just start, let's just say you just started training. If you do that on a Monday, by Wednesday, that stress that you've applied a stress, then you're going to recover in between that, and you're going to adapt. Okay, that causes adaptation in your body, and all sorts of different processes. So whenever you come in on the Wednesday, you're going to lift, and you're going to be capable of lifting that little bit more. And you're going to do the same process. You're going to apply stress on the Wednesday, you're going to recover, you're going to adapt, and you're going to be capable of lifting a little bit more on the Friday. You're going to rest up over the weekend, all the while you're eating well, getting enough protein, getting enough sleep, dealing with stress, stretching, mobilizing, all of that. You come back in the Monday and you're able to lift a little bit more than you could on the Friday. And you're able to lift a little bit more on the Wednesday than you could on the Monday. And you're able to lift a little bit more on the Friday than you could on the Wednesday. And you rinse and repeat. And you do that process over and over and over again. That's one of the most predictable patterns. Having trained hundreds of people, that is one of the most predictable things that I can apply to anybody. And as long as there's consistency, we will see that weight keep going up for a long time, for probably 6 months to a year, without having to change very, very much. Pretty much nothing else apart from the weight. Okay, your technique will improve, your understanding of the exercise will improve, and the purpose of it, and what muscles to use, and where you're finding it challenging, and little tips and tricks of ways to make sure you're doing it right and efficient. But you don't need to start messing about too much with the sets, with the reps, with the speed, with the tempo, and with the angles and all that sort of stuff. The only things that will increase really are the weight on the bar. Okay, and that's really predictable. I don't care if you are an 18-year-old kid, you're an 18-year-old guy or girl, or if you're a 68-year-old man, you are going to adapt. Okay, if you're a man, you're going to be able to put on muscle much easier. If you're a lady, you're still going to be able to build a bit of muscle, but it takes a lot more effort, a lot more attention to calories, I should say, because of a thing called hormones. Okay, but if you're an 18-year-old guy or a 58-year-old man, you're going to adapt. You're going to cause your body to adapt, and whenever you do that, this is how you put on muscle. This is how you get stronger. This is how you change your body composition, how you change your body shape. If you happen to be overweight, you don't need to be eating as many calories because you're already in an anabolic. You've already got anabolic tendency, so you're able to develop tissue naturally. Okay, you're predisposed to doing that. If you're somebody who is thinner, you're gonna have to eat a lot more calories. You're gonna have to drink milk. You're gonna have to eat lots of protein, eggs, steak, fish, chicken, yogurt, whatever your sources of protein are, you're going to have to eat lots of them, and your total calories are going to have to go up. So if you need 2,000 a day normally, you're going to have to eat probably 2,500, 3,000. Don't shoot the messenger. But all I'm trying to get your head around is that these are ways that you can predictably get stronger. You can predictably add weight to the bar. You can predictably change your body composition. There are certain principles, whether you are, again, going to use the example 58 or 68, or 18. There are principles, and there are scientific principles that you can apply that are going to be optimal for you in achieving your goal. Or if you don't apply them, they'll be suboptimal. You'll not achieve it as fast. You maybe not achieve it at all. There's a right way of doing things, and there are millions of wrong ways of doing things. And it's predictable. It's pretty predictable. Now, when it comes to weight loss, it's not just as predictable. Still pretty predictable. We can still say if we consume this amount of calories, we can work out your weight based on your weight, your height, your activity level, all of that, your age. We can work out how many calories your body needs. And then if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to get slimmer, you're trying to drop your waist size, your dress size, your trouser size, whatever, we can recommend calories for you to do that. And we can say you're probably going to average this amount of weight loss per week and per month. Now, it will fluctuate a little bit. It's very rarely linear. It's very rarely in a straight line. Some weeks you might lose 1 pound. Some weeks you might lose 2 pounds. Some weeks you might lose 0 pounds. It might level off. There are many more factors which go into to weight loss, to fat loss, than there are to building strength, building muscle, especially building strength. But there are so many factors which will influence that. Things like stress, things like sleep, all of those will impact it. for ladies, there's even more reasons that can cause differentiation there, especially one time in the month. But why am I telling you all this? Why are we talking about this? It's that, again, go back to what is reasonable. What is a reasonable expectation? Some people are really shocked when they start training with me that I'm going to put more weight in the bar the next session from the last session. They're like, oh no, it's too early. I'll still have to stick with that weight for a while. Nope. My expectation of you is to put more weight in the bar. And the reason for that is because you did the work last time. Now, if I wasn't watching you closely, say you were in a semi-private session, or say you trained yourself in between and you told me, oh, I lifted this weight last time. Maybe you did, but maybe you didn't go all the way. Maybe you didn't do full reps. Maybe you didn't do full sets. Maybe you were bouncing the weight, whatever. If you weren't doing it with the same sort of form, then you come in and start training with me, and then all of a sudden you can't lift the weight. You'll be found out, right? You kind of will be cheating yourself, and then you'll be trying to lift it and it'll not happen, it'll not go up. And you're disappointed, I'll be disappointed, but it's not even about disappointment, it's about trying to apply the right stress. Your body knows if you're not applying the right stress, and it won't adapt in the way that you want it to adapt, or that I wanted to adapt either. But this is why it's important not to fool ourselves. This is why it's important not to pretend that we're strong, to pretend that we did the work, because your body knows. Okay, you might have tricked your own mind, but your body will know. And the weights are the ultimate truth test, right? It either goes up or it doesn't go up. If you go and try and do a deadlift, it's either going to go up or it's not, right? There's no kind of, let's trick the weight into going up. Okay, let's tell it a few half truths and see if we can get it up. Nope, there's no fooling it. There's no cunningness, or like, this is why politicians, I think, don't lift weights very often, because you can't just talk around the topic and trick the weights into doing something, manipulating them, wanting to do whatever you want. They won't believe you. They don't care. They're not like me, you and I. We wanna believe them, right? Weights aren't like that. But we're all very, very similar. We all react very, very similar. Now, there are things that are going to deviate. So like we said, men and women, different hormone balances, and even different women have different capabilities when it comes to lifting weights, and different men have different capabilities. Some men are stronger than others. That's all given, okay? And that's why there's a difference between novices and intermediates and advanced lifters. We need to draw those distinctions. If you're a novice, I can very predictably chart your pathway of how much stronger you're going to be by whatever date. After you get into intermediate and advanced, that's when genetics play a role. That's when your consistency plays even more of a role, and your technique and the length of your femur and the length of your spine, the length of your arms, all those sort of little things will come into play, and they will dictate and determine how good a lifter you can become, how far you want to take it. If you want to, the best lifters in the world are obviously like the power lifters, and they have genetic advantages. Okay, a lot of them aren't over 6 foot. A lot of them are quite short because they've got shorter levers, so they're going to mechanically, it's going to be easier for them to lift those weights. I'm not saying it's easy, I'm saying they have an advantage in lifting weights because they don't have to make the weight travel as far. And then there's weight categories and all that stuff, that it's easier to keep under a certain weight if you're shorter. But that's what I'm saying, we're all very, very similar. We all react, especially as novices, we all react to the stress very, very similarly. And the more experience you have as a trainer, or as I have as a trainer, the better I can predict it, and the more specifically I can predict it and tell you what you're going to do and what's going to happen, and sticking points, predicting things like that. So you don't need to change everything all at once. You don't need to keep changing things, especially if you're a novice. You don't need to change very much. You need to be consistent. You need to just keep adding a little bit of weight, not too much, just a little bit every single session, and predictably, and expect your body to progress. Okay, it's not an exceptional thing. It's not a really crazy thing. It's just you find what's challenging, add a bit more weight every session. Simple as that. Really as simple as that. Now we are all unique, like we said. We've all got certain genetic advantages. Some people are better at pushing exercises. Some people are better at pulling exercises. Some people are better at gymnastics type things, so push-ups and handstand push-ups and pull-ups and things like that. Some people are better at maybe cardiovascular. Some people have like that slower twitch muscle fibers, and you're better at maybe longer distances and endurance type stuff. So longer runs and swims and cycles and stuff. Cool, that's fine. We're all unique. We've all got our own giftings. We've all got areas which we excel in and areas which are challenging for us in relation to our peers. But that being said, it doesn't mean we shouldn't try to maximize our potential and to do our very best, right? It means that we give it our best shot and see where our genetics lay us off. Okay, see where genetics place us among our peers. See where genetics leave us. But I think we have a responsibility as humans to try and excel and do our best with what we've been given. We've all been given different lots. Why not see what we can do with it? Right? Now, that's it. That's kind of all I have to say about it. But you're unique, you're wonderful, you're special, you have unique DNA, you inherited lots of traits from your parents and their parents, going back generations. So did I. You're unique though. You've got your own fingerprints. And speaking of which, we have a fingerprint scanner at the door here at the gym. We have an open gym service. I know I just slipped this in so well, didn't it? But you can come and train yourself outside of our PT and class hours from anytime from 5 a.m. till 11 p.m. and you can get in more consistency, more training. But yeah, sorry, I got distracted there. Your fingerprints are unique to you. Okay, your DNA and all those things, your eye colour, all those things make you up, physically speaking. And you have lots of intangible qualities that make you unique, that make you special to your friends and your family. But we're all very similar, right? We all react to training initially very, very similarly, and then we branch off into different areas and get better at certain things. But it's pretty cool, right? We're all unique, but we're all really similar. That's all I have to say. I would love to hear your thoughts on all of that. And our first news of the week story is, I just saw this morning. I think it was Wednesday this week, but the title of it is from Sky News, that reputable organisation. Vitamin D overdose, inverted commas. Vitamin D overdose warning after man admitted to hospital for excessive intake. According to the British Medical Journal case reports, symptoms started around a month after the man had started an intensive vitamin supplement regimen. I'm always confused. Is it regimen or regime? I don't know. You always hear regime whenever it's like a dictator, and have a regime whenever it's an exercise protocol. It's like a regime. I don't know. Sounds French, but I digress. Let's crack on. Doctors have warned people not to take too many vitamin D supplements after a man needed 8 days of hospital care because he overdosed. Now, of all the things to overdose on, right? I mean, fentanyl's out there, all the other more traditional drugs, shall we say, recreational drugs, but this man chose to overdose on vitamin D. Now, we've talked about vitamins, we talked about minerals before in this show, and I was sort of poking fun about the fact that we're so scared of overdosing on vitamins and minerals, and there's all these warnings in the back of your supplements telling you, check with your doctor before you start a supplement regime. And it's kind of funny that we are so scared of overdosing and stuff like that, yet we're willing to take other drugs that we don't really know much about, right? Because we've been told, yeah, it's grand. But there's lots of drugs out there. There's lots of tested and untested drugs out there that statistically have an impact on some people. So maybe 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000, whatever. There's still people out there. There's side effects and things happen. But the mid-aged man had been experiencing symptoms including vomiting, nausea, and leg cramps for 3 months when his doctor referred him to the hospital for treatment. So they weren't the worst. Like, I mean, obviously, you're vomiting and kind of throwing up for 3 months. It's probably not the most pleasant situation. You probably want to get that looked at. But could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot of other. He could have been dead instantly. If you've overdosed on certain drugs, that's what happens. But in fact, it's vitamin D, probably was a bit more prolonged and a bit more of a slow slide. According to the journal BMJ case reports, the symptoms started around a month after starting intensive vitamin supplementary intensive. It sounds like it's like a part-time job for him. Intensive vitamin supplement regime. He also experienced tinnitus, dry mouth, weight loss, and increased thirst and diarrhea. I'm not surprised he would increase thirst if he was vomiting every 5 minutes. Doctors said the overdose condition called hypervitaminosis D is increasing, though is still uncommon. Well, that's good. It's uncommon at least. There's not very many people overdosing on vitamin D. What are things to overdose on? Crazy. The man's daily regime had included more than 20 over-the-counter supplements. So as part of this, he was taking, get this, he was taking 50,000 milligrams of vitamin D. The daily requirement is 600 milligrams. Is that the daily requirement? Is that what's recommended? Is that the minimum? Is that the maximum? I mean, if there's a 60-kilo woman and a 110-kilo man, should they take the same amount? Because the recommendations say that, but logic would say otherwise. But anyway, 50,000, I'm going to say that is too much. Going to go out on a limb, not a pharmacist, not a dietitian. Going to say that's significantly too much. Tests show that his vitamin D levels were 7 times the required level, and so 7 times the required level. That's more than 7 times there, though, surely, isn't it? I mean, if he was taking 1,000 a day, and he was taking if he was required to take 1,000 a day and he was taking in 50,000 a day, that's still more than 7, right? It's like 50 times too much. Crazy. Test shows vitamin D levels were 7 times the required level in his body, had high levels of magnesium and calcium. His kidneys were also not working properly. Well, I would argue that they were overworking. Not working properly is maybe being a bit indescriptive about it there, but I would say his kidneys were doing overtime, double time, night shifts, everything. Intravenous foods were used to flush out his system, and he was given drugs to lower excessive calcium levels in his blood. Excessive calcium levels in his blood. Not a nice situation. So it wasn't just vitamin D. By the sounds of it, he was overdosing on. There seems to be a whole concoction. 20 over-the-counter supplements he was taking. But if he shook them on him, definitely would have rattled. He could have hurt him ages away. But imagine go over speed bumps in his car, just shaking about all over the place. 2 months after his hospital discharge, the levels of vitamin D in his body were still higher than required. The authors of the report said that globally there is a growing trend of hypervitaminosis D. That sounds like a totally made up word, doesn't it? Hypervitaminosis D. But emphasised this was just one case. The NHS website says some people will not make enough vitamin D from sunlight because they have very little to no sunshine exposure. No kidding, especially if you live in Ireland this summer. Has anyone seen the sun this summer? It's crazy. I've seen more sun in winter, I think. It's absolutely crazy. So it's not surprising people are taking vitamin D tablets trying to get something in. It recommends that adults and children over the age of 4 can take a daily supplement containing 10 milligrams of vitamin D throughout the year if they're not often outdoors or are in an institution like a care home, or usually wear clothes that cover up most of their skins and outdoors. So vitamin D overdose, don't do it, but do take your vitamin D supplement, especially if you live in Ireland in 2022, because we're not getting any sunshine and our bodies are struggling to produce vitamin D, and that's going to make us more susceptible to diseases and illnesses like we've seen the last 2 years. That's just my 2 cents. What do you think of that story? Good one. Not for that man, obviously, but entertaining. Hopefully and thankfully this man is okay. Second news story this week. This one is from 6 days ago, so that's like last Friday, I think it was. It's from The Independent. Knee ops dropped after NHS policies on patient weight introduced, study finds. So researchers suggest the introduction of limits on access to knee replacement surgery based on a patient's weight or BMI has seen a cut in operations. Well, that's convenient, isn't it? It's very convenient. So it says here, the introduction of weight and BMI limits on patients needing a National Health Service knee replacement has led to a reduction in surgery in England and could be contributing to a health postcode lottery, according to a study. Researchers at the University of Bristol suggest that the NHS commissioning groups which have restrictions for access to knee replacement surgery based on a patient's weight or BMI have seen a decline in surgery. I think going by both of those things, they're neither are helpful. I think you'd be much more useful using like using body fat percentage rather than weight. Imagine you had a rugby player who desperately, looked after himself and is trained hard and he needs a knee replacement, and he happens to be heavy because he's built like an absolute unit, and he can't get a knee replacement surgery because of his weight, because he's got so much muscle packed onto his limbs. Doesn't sound fair to me, compared to someone who's sitting on a sofa, slowly but surely killing themselves with takeaways and cigarettes. I don't know. Is that fair? Again, it's one of those ones where you can debate it all day. Study said that 1 in 10 people likely to need a knee replacement, with 1 in 10 people likely need 1 in 10 people in general likely to need a knee replacement, many thousands of patients are directly affected by these policies. 1 in 10. That's crazy. As a 10% of the population. That's insane. The rules have been brought in over the last decade, but there are a lot of regional differences. The research team analysed the rates of knee replacement surgery of 481,555 patients between January 2009 and December 2019, so 10 years roughly, using data from the National Joint Registry, and compared regions with and without a BMI policy. They found that linking access to knee replacements based on a patient's weight or BMI led to a decrease in surgery and potentially postcode health inequalities. The research team is urging commissioners and policy decision makers to reconsider restrictive policies that affect access to elective surgery as a matter of urgency. Now, this is one of those situations where it comes down to there's only so many surgeons, there's only so many knee replacement operations can be performed, and it highlights the fact that healthcare is not a right, in spite of what some people think. A right is something where there's access to it, availability, unlimited. Okay? There is a limit to how many knee replacement surgeries can be done based upon supply of surgeons, equipment, appointment times. There are so many reasons why this is limited. And if you want to get into, should this rugby player, like I used that example earlier, should that person be allowed a knee replacement surgery, and someone who hasn't looked after themselves at all, should they not be allowed? Is that fair? Who says it's fair? See what I mean? It cannot be looked upon as a right. Medical care cannot be looked upon as a right. And to do so, you get into all sorts of mental gymnastics to try and figure out why that would be the case. Lead author Dr. Joanna McLaughlin from the University of Bristol said, NHS policy on whether people can immediately access referral for knee replacement surgery if they're overweight or obese varies depending on where you live in England. Our study raises the concern that these policies are linked with worsening health inequalities, with fewer NHS operations for the least affluent groups in society when policies are introduced. An NHS spokesman, it was a man, they've made that, it's not like the Independent to specify that, but patients and clinicians work together prior to surgery to optimise the chance of getting the best outcome, and in some cases, losing weight prior to surgery reduces risk to patients and improves the chances of success for the procedure. The NHS is focused on reducing waiting times for knee replacements, and overall, since the elective recovery plan was published in February, the number of people waiting more than 2 years for treatment has dropped by 2/3. The study is published in the journal PLOS 1. So what do you think of that one? Interesting? Or are you bored about it? I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that they've kind of used this to, I guess, take pressure off the NHS for people who are waiting surgery, knee replacement surgery. Just on that, like, if you are really, really, really overweight, it goes without say, without even having an in-depth knowledge of biology or physics, that you're going to be putting extra pressure on your joints and especially your knees. So if you get knee surgery, you're given like a clean slate almost, and you can get on with your life. You're hopefully going to be living without pain. If you don't lose weight, if you don't learn how to move better, if you don't exercise and take care of other areas like your hips and manage your weight. Your weight's not just the physical side of it, as in like the downward pressure because of your weight going through your knee, that's going to put pressure on it, but there's also the inflammation that comes from carrying extra fatty tissue. It's massively linked. It's linked to all sorts of other illnesses, and if you happen to have a dodgy knee, you're going to increase even more inflammation, and don't be surprised if the other knee starts to give you bother as well. But take care of your hips is what I would suggest, and manage your weight, get to a healthy weight, and build muscle. Muscle's going to be able to build up and support things around the structures around your knee as well. So, interesting story. I think that's one way to clear the NHS backlog, isn't it? Just put in policies that stop people from being allowed to operate on if they're too heavy. Madness. And our third news story this week is from the BBC, and I just saw this pop up yesterday. I thought it was an interesting one. It says the range, I think that's the company, the range pulls Bikini and Bride weight loss items. So pull them. Bit of a funny description, but anyway. So the range has discontinued weight loss countdown coin savers in the shape of a bikini and a wedding dress after complaints over sexist body shaming. The wall plaques include slots to stash £1 for every pound of weight lost up to £40, 18 kilos on the bridal version. Emma Conway saw the items and asked if there were any for men. There were not. That's great journalism. That's great writing there. There were not. Brilliant. Anyway, she said, I left the shop shaking. In 2022, a large chain is feeding into the narrative that women need to be smaller to drop a dress size. The Plymouth-based retailer told the BBC it had not set out to offend customers. Well, it's probably not a great policy for a business to set out to offend customers. Had not set out to offend customers and would not be stocking either product again. Miss Conway, a digital creator known on social media as Brummy Mummy of Two, told her 147,000 Instagram followers she did not have an issue with people wanting to lose weight for a variety of reasons. But I asked if there was one for men, maybe lose chunks to fit in your trunks. There wasn't, she posted. Lose chunks to fit in your trunks. Brilliant. Brilliant. Sorry, I'm not over that yet. It was just for women to get a bikini body and to fit in a smaller wedding dress, to put a sign in their houses which they would look at each day, she said, to help them get ready to go to the beach. The motivation is not to get fit and healthy, but to shrink themselves. Remember, ladies, we need to be tiny. I think that's sarcasm there. I think that's sarcasm. She added, anyone reading this, remember how to get a bikini body is to buy a bikini and put it on your body. Genius. Genius. The range told the BBC in a statement, we appreciate that everybody, as inverted commas, is bikini ready all the time, but some of our customers have found this a fun way to help them reach a goal. This product has, however, now been discontinued and we will not be stocking it again. It sounds like, to me, right, it sounds like they're trying to defend their product that they offered it, but they also are pulling it from the shelves as a result of this debacle. Brummy Mummy of Two's post attracted more than 10,000 likes and hundreds of replies. Among them was an author, writer and podcast host, Alison Perry, who wrote, "This makes me so angry." I emphasised the "so" there. There's only one O. It wasn't like "so," like loads of O's. The range this might seem harmless to you, but it's really not, she added. You are perpetuating the belief that women have to fit into a narrow beauty ideal to be acceptable. It's dangerous. Walking past this in one of your shops could trigger someone and set them off down a path of dieting and disordered eating. Not okay. By that same logic, you can imagine, like, what other products are going to trigger someone? Like donuts could trigger someone into disordered eating. Protein shake could trigger someone into disordered eating. Sorry, there's a lot of, wow, this is a class. Instagram user, get this, I'm going to see if I can pronounce it. Instagram user pushing no, it's really hard. A paniable of treacle root. I can't pronounce that. It's on the BBC website. You can look it up, see if you can pronounce it. I saw these the other day. I could not believe it. Utterly amazed that they are allowed to sell this trash. I will be happily wearing my lovely size 18 bikinis this year with pride. How many bikinis do women need? Just out of interest. I mean, I've got like 1 or 2 pairs of swimming trunks. That's it. And even, I think one of them doesn't really fit me that well anymore. But they're a bit tight. My bum's grown so much from all the squats. But how many bikinis do women need? Just seriously. There were also replies from women who said that they did not have a problem with the idea of the wall plaques as motivational tools, but said they would prefer them to be gender neutral and not tied to events like a holiday or wedding. This is like, it's just me, or this seems to be absolute insanity. I kind of want to finish the story and then go through it, but the range had advertised its pink spotty bikini wall plaque on its website as a fun and unique way to save money and get fit, and suggested you can treat yourself with the cash when you reach your target. A similar plaque in the shape of a wedding dress had the words "weight loss journey" at the top. The range's website said, "Save up the pounds as you slim down to your goal weight for the big day with this dress size pound countdown plaque, shaped like a wedding dress with 40 coin shaped slots. You can place a pound in each one as you lose weight for your special occasion, meaning more money spending money for your honeymoon." This is not the first time the range's weight loss countdowns have attracted criticism. In October, The Independent reported that eating disorder charities said the 8 items glamorized weight loss. Glamorized weight loss. I'm trying to hold my tongue until the very end. And in 2019, The Sun reported that they made women feel unworthy. I'm going to step in here. They made women feel unworthy. To be honest, you cannot. Only you can make yourself feel unworthy. No one else can make you feel that. Okay, you're in charge of how you feel. People can be mean to you, but you don't have to buy the product. Okay, how about just not buying the product? You don't have to complain about everything in the shop that's being sold. I could go into any shop and start complaining about the fact that they're selling high sugar, high calorie products that are causing obesity, causing chronic illnesses to increase, making us shut the world down because of COVID, because people can't cope because we're all so obese. I could complain about those items being sold, but I choose to live my life and move on. I choose not to bother. I just don't buy the products. Okay, that's my little bit. You can do that as well. It's real simple. Just don't spend the money on it. When the BBC put comments to the range, it said, "Occasionally we do inadvertently offend customers." Occasionally, just on the cuff sometimes, just accidentally we offend customers. Though this is not something we ever set out to do. What a great business plan that would be, to offend customers intentionally. The retailer said it had decided to stop selling the items, although both were still available on its website at the time of publication. So there you are. Range, if you want to sponsor me, I can tell people about your products still being on the website, so you can still get these bikini things. They sound like the trashiest pieces of crap, like you would get in, like, I don't know, some really, really cheap store, like a pound shop or something. That's the sound of tack you would get, and people are getting offended by it. It's mental, but it's giving me good content, so it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, it's crazy. People are getting offended by this. Going to go back up here. So I said in October, the Independent reported that eating disorder charities said that items glamorize weight loss. Some people need to lose weight. Okay, that's just a fact of life. If you're overweight to the point that you are able to lose 18 kilograms, and get into a wedding dress and look normal and healthy, it's probably a sign that you probably need to do that. Okay, no offense, but it's probably going to do your health better. Health a load of good. It's going to do your health good long term. It's crazy. It says, as this woman says here, Emma comment, "I left the shop shaking." Imagine going to the shop and going away from it so angry that you're shaking. Emma, calm down. Take a chill pill. Take a wee coffee. No, don't take a coffee. You'll be stressed out. You'll probably shake even more then. This is crazy, right? Is it just me, or is this crazy? Like, some people need to lose weight. We're all adults, okay? If you're offended because you think that your child is going to see that and needs to, if you're of the age that you're able to get married, then you're old enough to make a decision on whether you need, do I need to lose weight? Do I not need to lose weight? You're old enough to know yourself. You're old enough to make that decision for yourself. If you're trying to protect children, that's a different matter. That's something that I think parents do need to speak up about, and try and protect their kids in some way, but also educate their kids and try and give them a good sense of perspective and a good outlook on things, a responsible one. But it's crazy. The motivation is not to get fit and healthy, but to shrink themselves. Getting fit and getting healthy, a lot of the time for a lot of people, is to try and lose weight. Okay, most of us are carrying too much weight. We know that. We've come out of a pandemic. We've come out of 2 years of mental lockdowns, and people who are overweight, people have put on weight. As a nation, this is just statistically, this is the case. The reason we had to do lockdowns, didn't have to do them, the reason that governments enforced them on us is because they said that we were all susceptible to COVID and we could all die from it. Now, we know that's not true. We know it wasn't true, but we could have looked after ourselves by being in shape. We could have looked after ourselves by being a healthy weight, by working out, by training, by eating better. So I don't think getting offended by it, like people are getting angry about it, the arrangement is so harmless, but it's really not. you're perpetuating the belief that women have to fit into a narrow beauty ideal to be acceptable. It's not about being acceptable. They're offering you a product. You can choose to buy the product, or you can choose to move on with your life. It's simple as that. They're retailers. They're not trying to torture you or bully you or anything. There's literally a item on a shelf, and if you can't walk past an item without getting offended, ignoring it and moving on, I don't know. I can't help you, and the internet is probably not the place for you then. So what do you think of that story? Let me know your thoughts on this one. It's a bit mental. Okay. Got a joke for you. You might not know this about me, but I used to go out with a girl who had one leg shorter than the other. She was called Eileen.